What's up, Guild Wars 2 fans? It's Ed Park, aka Taugrim, here to show you my Captain Hammer Warrior spec. This features heavy crowd control, AoE healing, and AoE buffs. I have two burst abilities in this spec that provide stuns, two knockdowns, and a knockback. I'm using my hammer. I open up with the Hammer 3 ability that is a ranged cripple, and then I close the gap there with the Hammer burst ability, Earthshaker, which does a stun effect, and then knock down this opponent with Hammer 5, switch over to Maces, and use the Mace 5 ability, which is another knockdown. So both 5 abilities on this spec knock the opponent down. You can see I'm putting a lot of crowd control to shut down this opponent, and right there you can see that I'm healing the friendly engineer and I for 2090 each time I use a shout. So this spec is built around shouts. Each shout will generate an AoE heal for 2090, generate about 3/4 of an adrenaline bar, and it will also remove a condition because I have the 6-piece set bonus from Runes of the Soldier. Of course, I'll get the benefit of the shout itself, and if the shout applies boons or buffs, it will increase my damage. So the information about the spec is linked in the description for this video. You can see I popped off 2 heals there to get Medi to full health, since I'm going to assume, since I'm very tanky, that that player is probably squishy. And the spec doesn't feature high damage, but what it does do is pretty good sustained damage, and what happens is over time I build up stacking might, and if I'm being really disciplined about weapon swaps, I can carry about 9 to 12 stacks of might consistently. And the reason why that happens, I have the sigils of superior battle, so whenever I swap weapons, it generates 3 might for 26 seconds, and I can weapon swap every 5 seconds. So, you know, if you weapon swap a lot, I've gotten up to about 17 stacks of might, and it's important because every 10 stacks of might is 350 power, which is significant, so it makes your damage a lot higher. The spec works really well in group settings because of the AoE buffs and AoE heals, and I've also found that it can more than hold its own in a solo capacity because you're extremely difficult to kill. And, you know, depending on the opponent, you know, if you can catch them with a string of CCs, it's possible to kill them as well. You can see I'm being very aggressive about using my shouts. I'm trying to keep the health of my friendly players up as high as possible. And right here I use Hammer 5 for the knockdown, and then follow up with Hammer 4 for the knockback, and then the burst ability to stun. So that was 3 back-to-back CCs to shut down that warrior. I did about close to 5,000 damage, but more importantly, he couldn't counter what we were doing. We finished him off. This is the melee heavy spec. The main downside to it is you can get kited. It has very limited ability to close gaps to opponents, and I'll show that right here. This thief starts to kite away, and in a moment I use the one gap closer that I have, which is the Hammer burst ability, and it will move you forward up to 600 range, but not enough in that case to actually land the blow on the target. I switch over and use the Mace 5 ability. It sends a tremor along the ground. You can see it knock down both players. It's a fantastic CC, and in some cases like that, you can line people up and knock multiple people down. I'll show that again in another clip. And we managed to burn down one of the elementalists before heading back up top. So this warrior's engaging me here. I go ahead and knock him down with the Hammer 5 ability, and then I use Earthshaker, the Hammer burst ability, to knock multiple players down, switch over to the Maces, and then use the Mace 5 ability to again knock multiple people down. And this is like a "you shall not pass." You know, I'm like totally preventing these guys from getting up to the top and joining their allies in the fight. I was really taking a lot of condition damage there. There was 11 stacks of bleeds on me, ticking for 114 a pop, but I removed them using mending. And the great thing with this spec is, you know, I have 4 abilities that can remove conditions. So mending, the healing skill, removes 2. Each shout will remove at least 1 condition, and the shake it off shout will remove 2 because the shout itself is an AoE condition removal. Now, if you wanted to increase your healing, you could go with the 6-piece Runes of Duena's spec instead of the 6-piece Runes of the Soldier, but I found you know, if you do that, you're going to be very susceptible to conditions, whereas with the 6-piece Runes of the Soldier, because your shouts will remove a condition, you have fantastic sustained condition removal. Here's another nice example of burning down an opponent from range. So I open up with Mace 5 from range, the Tremor knocks him down, he's trying to kite from us. I switch over to the hammer. I hit him with the Hammer 5 ability, which is a knockdown, and then follow up with the Hammer 4 ability, which is a knockback. Now we get rooted here, but he's got a lot of bleeds on him and he dies. I can go ahead and remove some of these conditions here by popping Mending and Shouts, and then we go ahead and finish him off.
Is 50 full?
Wasn't a few minutes ago.
So I've had some hilarious fights with this spec. I tried it out during the stress test. I theory crafted this before the stress test based on reading a really good thread by Versaken on the Guild Wars 2 Guru forum. And you can see I opened up this fight here by stunning my opponents. I was trying to save a friendly ranger who ends up bailing on me. So now it's a 1 versus 2. It's me versus a thief and an engineer, and they're both spec'd with pretty good range DPS, which is going to make my life pretty difficult. But I'm showing this footage to show you just how durable this spec is. Between the sustained conditional removal, the high toughness, so I'm sporting 1810 toughness, so that's over 3000 armor. So I mitigate direct damage really well. I can strip off conditions when people are trying to bleed me. I have a lot of CCs to work with, so I can keep people disabled, limit their uptime. Of course, there is so much that I can do. So it's already been almost a minute here that I've been fighting these guys. And I realized eventually, I'm going to run out of cooldowns or they're going to catch me in a sequence here. So, I still am using my CCs rotating between Hammer 5, Hammer 4, Mace 5, and then both burst abilities for my Mace and Hammer weapons. But at this point, I'm realizing, okay, they're going to kill me eventually. So I go ahead and pop Mending here, get back up to half health, and then in a moment here, I'm going to take off. And that animation's hilarious. That's one of the, I think that's the Ranger Horn ability when you see those 3 birds fly in and start pecking at my helm. All right, so I'm at low health here. I go ahead and pop my 4 Great Justice. That's on the 6th key. It's a fantastic buff. And then I Will Avenge You on the 9 key comes off cooldown. And that provides a swiftness buff, which lasts for 13 seconds with the spec. So I use my Adrenaline Layer, consume it with the Hammer burst ability. Earthshaker to go ahead and AoE stun those guys, and I'm kiting them. You can see basically I'm able to keep myself at about half health with all the cooldowns coming up and mixing in some CCs. And what's hilarious here is that friendly player joins the fight, so the hunters are going to become the hunted, and I'm finally going to be able to meaningfully fight back. Like I said, you can definitely take people solo in this spec. If you catch them with a CC burst cycle, if they're very tanky or play very defensively, it'll stalemate. They won't kill you. You probably won't kill them. But here, I know I've got some help, so I go ahead and switch over to Hammer, leap in with the Hammer burst ability, get a knockdown, use Mending. You can see I'm all the way back up to about 80% health here, so I'm in good shape right now. I survived long enough, switch over to Mace 5, knock down this opponent, and then we go ahead and finish him off. If you're curious about this spec, you can check out the description for this video on YouTube or check out my blog. There are links to the calculator. I explain my entire thinking process behind building a spec, everything from the trait selection, trait investments, gear, runes, sigils, you name it. So let me know what you think of this video. Don't forget to like and share if you enjoy it, and I will have more videos coming soon. Take care.